Hey, let me ask you something right off the bat. Did that pre-draft press conference from Jerry Jones feel a little too obvious to you? Because I've been thinking about it, and man, something's not adding up. You and I both know Jerry isn't the type to show his cards, but here he is, standing in front of the media, repeating over and over how important the offensive line is. Not just mentioning it in passing, he hammered it again and again. And that, right there, might be the first clue that something else is going on. Think about it. How often do teams hold pre-draft pressers where they go out of their way to talk about what positions they might target? Doesn't that seem strange to you? Most franchises stay as quiet as possible leading up to the draft. But Jerry? He's out here basically narrating what they might do, like he's reading off a script. That's not strategy, that's theater. Now here's the thing. If there's one thing Jerry Jones has proven over the years, it's that he's a showman. He knows how to control a narrative, and if he's putting this much focus on the offensive line, maybe that's exactly what he wants everyone to be focused on, so he can do the opposite. Let me bring you in on a little game. Could this be a classic Cowboys misdirection play? Something just doesn't feel right, and if you've been a Cowboys fan long enough, you know this ain't the first time we've seen smoke before the draft. Let me know what you think. Drop it in the comments. Do you think Jerry is bluffing or telling the truth this time around? Seriously, I want to hear your take. And hey, if you're already feeling that this might be one of those classic Jerry Jones poker moves, do me a favor, hit that like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to the channel and tap that notification bell. Your support means everything to us and will help us reach our next goal. 13,000 subscribers here on Cowboys News TV. Let's grow this community together. Now, if that press conference really was a setup, what exactly was the play? That's what we'll dig into next. All right, so let's go a little deeper into this whole offensive line obsession Jerry kept talking about. Because if you watch that press conference closely, or even just listened in the background, you probably noticed how often he said offensive line. I'm not exaggerating here. Reports say he brought it up more than 15 times. 15. Now, I don't know about you, but when someone repeats something that much, it's either because they're really serious about it, or they're trying really hard to sell you on it. And in Jerry's case, we've seen both sides before. But here's where it gets interesting. If you look at Cowboys' history in the draft, we haven't always been this offensive line focused. Sure, we've had stretches where building the line was a priority. Think Tyron Smith, Zach Martin, Travis Frederick. But if you zoom out, this franchise has long been about weapons, big names, big plays, skill positions. From Emmitt Smith and Michael Irvin to more recent moves like Ezekiel Elliott and CeeDee Lamb, this team has always had a thing for offensive firepower. So now, all of a sudden, we're supposed to believe that the Cowboys have completely shifted their identity, that it's all about protecting the quarterback and opening running lanes, and not about putting dynamic players on the field? Call me skeptical, especially because this offensive line drumbeat just got really loud right before the draft. Let's talk history for a second. Did you know the Cowboys only picked offensive linemen in the first round 10 times over their first few decades? It wasn't until more recent years that this became a trend. Before that, it was all about playmakers. Jerry knows this fan base loves stars. He built this franchise that way. So here's a question for you. Do you think the real priority is still offensive weapons like it used to be? Or does it actually make sense to double down on the trenches right now? Hit the comments and let me know where you stand. And if you're loving this breakdown, this is your moment. Subscribe to Cowboys News TV and turn on that notification bell so you don't miss the next move in this chess game Jerry is playing. We're just getting warmed up. Because what if this isn't just about the fans? What if Jerry's real target is the other teams? Let's talk about that next. Now let's really get into the mind of Jerry Jones, the showman, the salesman, the deal maker. Because if there's one thing we know about Jerry, it's that he doesn't just play the game on the field. He plays it in the war room, at the podium, and in the headlines. So let me ask you, Why would a seasoned executive like Jerry go on national television just days before the draft and broadcast his supposed intentions over and over again? We're focused on the offensive line. The offensive line is a priority. Really, Jerry? You expect us to believe you're laying your draft board out on the table for everyone to see? Let's be real. This is the same guy who's negotiated blockbuster trades, surprised the league with controversial picks, and always finds a way to keep people guessing. He's not giving anything away unless he wants to. And if he's saying offensive line that many times, maybe it's because he's trying to get other teams to focus there. And maybe even overreact. Think about it. If a team drafting just ahead of the Cowboys hears Jerry talking up linemen nonstop, what are they going to think? Oh man, if we want that tackle, we better grab him now. And just like that, they take the bait. Meanwhile, Jerry might have his eyes on a completely different position the whole time. That's not just speculation, that's strategy. Look, I'm not saying he's out here running a full-blown con, but would it shock you if Jerry's real plan was to create enough confusion to make his actual target fall right into his lap? Because that's exactly the kind of chess move we've seen him pull before. So tell me, do you think Jerry's trying to pull one over on the other teams? Drop your take in the comments. I want to know if you think this is gamesmanship or just a guy who talks too much during draft week. And hey, if you're enjoying this behind-the-scenes look at how the Cowboys operate, make sure you're subscribed and hit that bell so you're in the loop every time we break down a move like this. No fluff, just real Cowboys talk, for real fans like you. And speaking of, gamesmanship. Let's talk about what the Cowboys aren't saying, because that might be even more revealing. All right, now here's something that caught my attention big time. Over the last few weeks, there's been this weird silence around the names we usually hear tossed around. Running backs, wide receivers, all those offensive weapons the Cowboys have always loved. Remember guys like Matthew Golden, Ashton Jeanty? They were in the spotlight then, poof, gone. You probably noticed it too. It's like, suddenly, all the chatter about grabbing a dynamic weapon just vanished, and the conversation switched almost entirely to the offensive line. You'd think if the Cowboys were really going to lean into the trenches, they'd still mention those skill guys now and then, right? But nope, nothing. Even at the big press conference, no real talk about receivers or running backs. The focus was speed. Yeah, they brought that up, but speed was almost like a side note, not the headline. Which is odd because if speed and skill position players were truly the priority, they'd be shouting that from the rooftops. So what's going on here? Is this a coincidence? Or is it part of the same smokescreen we've been talking about? To me, it smells like a classic misdirection. If Jerry and the Cowboys wanted to keep their real draft target under wraps, what better way than to drown out talk of weapons and keep everyone fixated on the offensive line? Here's where I want you to jump in. Do you find it strange how quiet it's been on the weapons front? Do you think the Cowboys are hiding something? Let me know in the comments below. And while you're at it, if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell. This channel is all about cutting through the noise and giving you the real scoop on everything Cowboys. Don't miss the next chapter, because now it's time to put all these clues together and look at what the Cowboys might really do in the draft. So here we are, the big moment. The final theory on what the Cowboys are actually planning to do in this draft. After all the talk about offensive line, the silence on weapons, and Jerry's non-stop mentions, what's really going on? My take? The Cowboys want a weapon. They want that game-changing wide receiver or running back to light up the field. But they're probably not going to just reach for one at pick 12. Instead, I think they're planning to trade back, a move that makes a lot of sense strategically. Why? Because trading back gives them more picks, more flexibility, and a chance to snag other key players later. They can still get an offensive lineman in the early 20s if they want, but they're not locking themselves in on that first pick. This way, they keep their options open and maybe even catch other teams off guard. Think about it. If they stay at 12 and pick a lineman like Tyler Booker or Kelvin Banks, it's a safe move, but it doesn't excite the fans or really shake up the offense. But if they trade back and then draft a weapon in a later round, they're adding that spark without giving up too much. Now, I want to hear from you. What's your prediction? Will the Cowboys stick with the offensive line, or will they surprise us with a weapon? Drop your theory in the comments. I'm always pumped to read what you think. And hey, if you've watched all the way through this deep dive, you're officially part of the Cowboys News TV family now. So don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss a beat from our breakdowns, hot takes, and insider talk. Thanks for hanging out with me today. We'll keep watching, analyzing, and rooting for our boys. See you in the next video.